Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video we're going to be learning about the bony landmarks and muscle attachments on the sacrum. So stay tuned till the end of the video and let's get started. So if you have a look at the sacrum, so sacrum is a flattened triangular bone, as you can see right here. The sacrum is formed by the fusion of the S1, S2, S3, S4 and S5, and these are the lines of fusion of the 5 sacral vertebrae. The sacrum has mainly two parts. It has an upper broader part. This is called the base. This is the base of the sacrum, and we have a narrower part known as the apex. The sacrum forms the posterior superior part of the fully articulated pelvis. The sacrum has mainly two ends. As I told you earlier, there is a base and we have an apex. It has four surfaces. We have a concave pelvic surface right here. This is the pelvic surface, and we have dorsal surface, or the posterior surface, which is rough and it is convex right here. And we also have two lateral surfaces, as you can see. This is the right lateral surface and this is the left lateral surface. The lateral surfaces articulate with the ilium of the pelvis to form the sacroiliac joint through the auricular surface. This L-shaped articular surface right here, this is called the auricular surface. A matching surface is also present on the ilium. That is also called the auricular surface, and it is present on the medial surface of the ilium. So together the auricular surface of the sacrum and the ilium form the sacroiliac joint. So if you go about the sacrum systematically, we start from the base of the sacrum, which is the upper very broad part of the sacrum right here. This is the base of the sacrum, and the base of sacrum is formed by the superior surface of the S1 vertebrae. This is the S1 vertebra, this is the body of S1 vertebra, and this is the superior surface of the S1 vertebra. So the body of the S1 vertebra is lumbar in type, and it articulates with the lumbar vertebra above superiorly to form the lumbosacral joint. In the anatomical position, the sacrum is actually not exactly vertical, it is actually inclined at an angle of 30 degrees. Specifically, the body of the S1 vertebra is inclined at an angle of 30 degrees with the horizontal as such, and this forms an angle of 30 degrees right here in the anatomical position. Now we also see that the anterior border of the body of the S1 vertebra, it protrudes a bit outwards. It's like a cantilever, and this outward protrusion of the body of the anterior border of the body of the S1 vertebra is called the sacral promontory. Furthermore, if we look at the pedicles right here, these are the pedicles. The pedicles are very short, as you can see, and they are directed outward or laterally. They are directed laterally, means away from the midline. Also, the laminae, as you can see right here, these are the laminae. The laminae have fused in the midline as such to form the spinous tubercles, and there are 4 spinous tubercles right here. So the fusion of the laminae also leaves a gap in the sacrum, and this gap is actually a canal. This canal which starts here, this is the opening of one opening of the canal, and it opens here. It's not visible in this specimen, but in the real specimen, in the cadaver, it is quite visible. This canal is called the sacral canal, and the sacral canal channels the cauda equina, the phylum terminale, the dura mater, and the arachnoid mater. The dura mater and the arachnoid mater, they all terminate at the level of the S2 right here. They all terminate right here somewhere. So from the other end of the sacral canal, only the phylum terminale emerges. Also, we see that the body of the sacrum has triangular fan-shaped lateral masses right here. These are the lateral masses, and the lateral masses are actually formed by the transverse processes of the sacral vertebra that have fused, and this transverse process of the sacral vertebra have fused with the costal elements. The costal elements were actually, during embryological development, they were responsible for forming the ribs at all vertebral levels. However, they only formed at the thoracic levels, and they are not formed at the lumbar or the sacral levels. So right here we can see that the costal elements and the transverse elements have fused together, and they have formed this huge lateral mass. This is also called the ala of sacrum. This hole is called the ala of sacrum, and this is the whole lateral mass right here. This is the whole lateral mass. We can also see the articular processes of the first sacral vertebra right here. These are the two articular processes, and they articulate with the inferior articular process of the L5 to form the lumbosacral joint, or specifically the zygapophyseal joint between the L5 and S1. And as it is visible, the articular processes of the S2, S3, S4 and S5 have fused together right here, and they form the intermediate sacral crest. So if you look at the apex right here, this is the apex of the sacrum, and apex of the sacrum is formed by the inferior surface of the S5 vertebra, and the inferior surface of the S5 vertebra is articulating with the superior surface of the C1 or the first coccyx to form the sacrococcygeal joint right here. This is the sacrococcygeal joint, and you can see the coccyx bones right here. So that's pretty much it for the apex and the base. Let's talk about the surfaces. So we have the pelvic surface. The pelvic surface is concave inwards, and the pelvic surface also consists of some transverse grooves right here, which mark the fusion of the S1, S2, S3, S4, S5. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 grooves for the articulation, which show the line of fusion of the 5 sacral vertebra, and the last one is for the fusion with the first coccygeal vertebra. We also see that laterally we have some foramina right here. We have some holes. These foramina are called as the pelvic sacral foramina, and these pelvic sacral foramina give passage to the anterior rami of the sacral spinal segments. Then if we talk about the pelvic surface, so on the pelvic surface we see that it is quite rough. First of all, the pelvic surface consists of the sacral canal. As I told you earlier, the sacral canal channels the spinal cord, specifically the terminal part of spinal cord, the filum terminale, the chorda equina, the spina dura and the spina arachnoid, which terminate at the S2, at the level of S2. So if we see right here, we can see the spinous tubercles. The spinous tubercles are formed because of the fusion of the spinous processes in the median plane, and the spinous tubercles, they all fuse to form this ridge. This is called the median sacral crest right here. This is called by the it is formed by the fusion of the spinous processes. Then lateral to the median sacral crest, we have the intermediate sacral crest. The intermediate sacral crest is in line with the articular processes of the S1 vertebra, and it is formed because of the fusion of the articular processes of the S2 to S5 vertebra. And the intermediate sacral crest is right here. As you can see, it lies lateral to the median sacral crest. Lastly, we also have the fusion of the transverse processes of the 5 sacral vertebra. So this right over here, we have the fusion, line of fusion of all of the 5 sacral vertebra, and this helps form the lateral sacral crest. The lateral sacral crest is right here. This is the lateral sacral crest, this is the intermediate sacral crest, and this is the median sacral crest. And underlying the median sacral crest, we have the sacral canal. So we also see some foramina on the posterior aspect of the sacrum. These are called the posterior sacral foramina, and the posterior sacral foramen also help the posterior rami of the sacral spinal segments to emerge from the sacral canal. The sacral foramina, all of the sacral foramina can communicate they all communicate with the sacral canal, because sacral canal actually channels the spinal cord. So from the spinal cord, the sacral spinal segments, both anterior mi and posterior mi, can come out through the sacral foramina. We also see that the lamina are not fused at the inferior end of the posterior surface of the sacrum, and this forms the sacral hiatus right here. The sacral hiatus is actually the other opening of the sacral canal, and the sacral hiatus is bound by these two ridges which represent the articular processes of the S5 sacral vertebra. These are called the sacral cornu. So before starting the attachments on the sacrum, please note that the green color is for the attachments of ligaments, the red color is for the origin of muscles, and the blue color indicates the insertion of muscles. So we'll move in a systematic order. We'll first start from the base, and then we'll move to the apex, and then we'll discuss the attachments on the surfaces. So on the base, we have the body of the S1 vertebra, as you can see right here. This is the body, and the body has an anterior margin. The anterior margin is called the sacral promontory. The sacral promontory gives attachment to the anterior longitudinal ligament of the whole spinal column, and the posterior border right here of the body of the S1 gives rise to the posterior longitudinal ligament. The margins of the sacral canal, as you can see right here, it gives attachment to the lowest fibers of the ligamentum flava. So talking about the muscle attachments on the pelvic surface, we see that the anterior border, anterior aspect of the ala of the sacrum, this gives rise to the iliacus muscle. We have an E-shaped origin of the piriformis muscle on the pelvic surface. The E-shaped origin of the piriformis is situated one sacral foramen below. On the pelvic aspect of the transverse process of S5 vertebra, we have the insertion of the muscle known as the coccygeus. So moving on to the posterior aspect, we see that we have a huge U-shaped origin. This huge origin spans throughout the median sacral crest. I am tracing it with my pencil. It spans throughout the median sacral crest, and then it moves to the lateral sacral crest. This whole origin is of the erector spinae muscle. Between the erector spinae muscle, right here on this surface, between the erector spinae muscle, we have the origin of the multifidus muscle. Also on the posterior aspect of the transverse process of S5 vertebra, we have the insertion right here of the gluteus maximus muscle. So that was all it for the muscle attachments on the sacrum. We also have some attachments of ligaments on the sacrum. So if we see right here, this ligament on the posterior border of the ala of sacrum, this ligament is called the lumbosacral ligament. We also have the attachment right here of the ventral sacroiliac ligament on the lateral margin of the ala of sacrum right here. So that sums up all of the attachments on the sacrum. So that was pretty much it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, found it helpful, and if you did, please leave a like. Don't forget to share with as many of your friends as possible, and yeah, subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon to receive the latest updates. And as always, stay happy and blessed, and see you next time.